Hey guys, today we'll be reviewing The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. This is the complete story, all 5 books. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, Life, the Universe, and Everything, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, and Mostly Harmless. Douglas Adams was born in Cambridge, England in 1952. After leaving university, Adams moved back to London, determined to break into TV and radio as a writer. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was a concept for a science fiction comedy radio series pitched by Adams and radio producer Simon Brett to BBC Radio 4 in 1977. According to Adams, the idea for the title occurred to him while he lay drunk in a field in Innsbruck, Austria, gazing at the stars. He was carrying a copy of The Hitchhiker's Guide to Europe, and it occurred to him that somebody ought to write a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Adams wrote 5 novels in the series. The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy book I read was the Barnes & Noble's Classic Edition. It included a short story titled Zaphod Plays It Safe that won't be included in this review. The protagonist of this series is an English man named Arthur Dent, who goes on several adventures with his friends, Ford Prefect, Zaphod Beeblebrox, Trillian, and my favorite character, Marvin, who is the most depressing robot to ever exist. The story begins on Earth, where Arthur's house was going to be demolished to make room for a highway, while at the same time, the Earth was going to be demolished to make room for a hyperspace lane by the Vogons and their big ugly yellow ships that are almost as ugly as they are. Ford Prefect saves Arthur by waving his towel at the ship, and they get beamed up before the Earth is demolished. A couple chapters later, the stowaways are found and are then tortured by a Vogon reading some of its poetry. To the surprise of Ford Prefect, Arthur tells the Vogon that he likes the poetry, and after some constructive criticism, they get thrown into space. The beginning of this book pretty much sets the tone for the rest of the series. Stuff like this makes me absolutely adore these books and Douglas Adams' absurd and hilarious writing. I won't spoil too much about the story or the rest of the books, but I will give a quick synopsis from here on out. Now, obviously, they don't die. They end up being saved by a ship called the Heart of Gold. The starship Heart of Gold was the first spacecraft to make use of the infinite improbability drive. This drive ends up saving Arthur. The craft was stolen by then-President Zaphod Beeblebrox at the official launch of the ship, as he was supposed to be officiating the launch. Now, if I'm going to be honest, I read all these books in a matter of 10 days back to back, and I will say that the first 2, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, are my favorite, but their stories seem to mix together for me. They end up going through an adventure, and some rats tell them that the answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42. Now, I'm not going to sit here and hail Douglas Adams as some sort of philosophical genius, but I will say that I read a Reddit comment once that said maybe Adams said that the answer was 42 because it is just so ridiculous of an answer to such a ridiculous question, because we are never going to quite fully know the answer to life, the universe, and everything. That's pretty smart if you ask me. The third book, Life, the Universe, and Everything, starts off where the restaurant at the end of the universe ends, and that is Arthur and Ford on prehistoric Earth. They end up being saved, and at the end of the book, end up saving the universe as well. The third book is quite hilarious like the first 2, but its story is rather lackluster. After the 3 books, the series for me kind of drops off. I feel as if it becomes less funny and the witty humor somehow becomes more forceful. Most notably, Zaphod Beeblebrox kind of disappears, and so does the Heart of Gold. Bad move from me because Zaphod was a great character and the improbability drive was so improbable it was funny. Maybe that's one of the reasons why these books become less funny as Zaphod and the Heart of Gold disappear. Now, my main issue with the series as a whole stems from So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. The story at this point is no longer adventurous, but feels more like a love story. Now, overall, as books go, this was still an excellent book, but it just didn't seem to fit the theme of the series. And most frustrating was the entire development of a character in So Long and Thanks for All the Fish just to disappear in the beginning of Mostly Harmless due to some random and absurd event. Although I will say I can catch myself in some hypocrisy here, as I was just praising Adams for his absurd and hilarious writing, and the way this character disappears is rather funny. My favorite part of the whole series, though, is in the book that I dislike the most. Marvin, the insanely depressing robot, is climbing up an enormous mountain to read the fire god's last message to creation. He is barely making it when Arthur and his love interest show up and help him up the mountain. They get to the viewpoint of the message, but because Marvin is basically bits and pieces at this point thanks to all of his adventures, his vision optics or something are all messed up, and he has to read the message through a telescope, but the message is so bright, since it's made from the fire god, it will kill you if you read it that close. But Marvin doesn't care. The depressing and ever self-loathing robot reads the message, and it reads, "Sorry for the inconvenience." And Marvin is so relieved that he finally comes to peace and dies. The last book, Mostly Harmless, is basically just a wrap-up on Arthur as a character, Douglas Adams introduces a couple new elements to the story just to bring Arthur and Trillian, the last surviving humans, back to Earth that is on a different time axis. This was explained by Bird, just to bring it all back to the beginning where the Vogons were destroying the planet. Satisfying ending, it's just I wish he went about it differently. I love the series, even though I'm not particularly a big fan of sci-fi, but I will say that if you are a big fan of sci-fi and adventures and comedy, this is the book for you. I highly recommend it for people looking for a fun story and a fun adventure, but not someone who is looking for a rather thought-provoking book or a book with a deep meaning. In the beginning, the universe was created. This made a lot of people very angry and has been widely regarded as a bad move. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Thank you for listening, guys.